Welcome to the Face to Face podcast with Jay Kinder and Michael Reese. Today, we're going to talk about the philosophy of optimization. Why optimization starts with gaining awareness, leverage, and ultimately maximizing throughput. Before you jump back to working in the business, let's spend a little time working on the business. Ready or not, here we come.
This is Face to Face with the co-founders of the National Association of Expert Advisors, Jay Kinder and Michael Reese.
We believe that we can change the real estate industry. There is a better way to sell real estate.
Your success is ultimately a sum of the decisions that you make.
And they're really developing a process, a set of guidelines, a set of procedures.
They're also best-selling authors.
Here today to discuss the issue is Jay Kinder and Michael Reese.
All right, Jay Kinder, what a great topic today, brother.
Here we come, baby. Here we come. This is my favorite topic, man. I mean, this is really. I think there's a certain point you get to in your career when you become obsessed about just improving in every area. And this is this is a topic where you can find a lot of hidden opportunities in your business.
Yeah, dude. You know what amazes me about this podcast is honestly how many people listen to it. And
right.
I had a call with a guy named Kirk this week, and bless his heart, man. He's been out there just trying to bang away. And at the end of the call, he said, "Tell your dad hi." And, you don't know how many. I mean, first of all, I didn't know anybody knew my dad out there. And
right.
And I share that story just because, I want everybody to know, like the Kirks of the world, that, we really do appreciate you. I got into a lengthy discussion just yesterday with Jay. And one of the biggest opportunities that we have in our lives right now, Jay, and I'm kind of tattletelling on you. Jay said, and it's a very economical, if that's the right way to say it, it's a huge opportunity. Let's just leave it at that. And Jay shared with me that, if that opportunity ever stood in the way of him adding value to real estate agents' life, he was out. And dude, man, I thought about that on the plane, and I was sharing that story with Odo. And man, that's what I love about you, man, is that I told Odo, I was like, Jay is very authentic. And man, there's a lot of fulfillment. We don't do this podcast. It's 7 a.m. here, and it was a long night. We have one of the biggest days of our life. I won't get into any of the detail, but you can. Hopefully, by the time you hear this, everything went as planned. But it's a great opportunity, and I want to thank our community for paying attention, listening to us, and if you haven't had the opportunity to subscribe, man, please subscribe to the podcast on iTunes and leave us a review. It does make everything fulfilling just to hear everybody's feedback. So I just wanted to share that before we got started today.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. And my intention is not to blow our big opportunity, but it's just ingrained in me, right? Like it's one of those triggers that can be triggered in me at any time if you try to tell me I can't add value to someone's life. And that's not what was happening, but it's just that important, right? Like this is what's fulfilling. And you're right, man. We have a multitude of conversations for, those of you who are listening, at some point or another, you'll find an opportunity to jump on a call with us. And, it's my favorite part of the day. In fact, I probably have 6 or 8 calls today where I'm just get on the call, unpack your business, trying to help you get from point A to point B. Where are you at today? Where are you trying to be in the next 5 years? How do we reverse engineer the best way to get there? And that's really, that's my passion. That's what I love doing. So that's why we do this. So if you're listening, our goal is to add value, to teach you some of the lessons that we've learned and grow in our businesses and multitude of businesses and opportunities. And really to get you to think differently. And when you get off of this podcast, you stop listening today, start looking at things differently and things you haven't seen. And I've used the quote, Mike, you said quite a bit lately, when you were talking about, fish don't understand the dimension that's above the water. They don't understand, what's on land, what happens on land, all the things that are above the water. Fish have no consciousness about what's above the water. And I think for most people, that's a really good analogy. If you haven't been to a certain stage of business, you really don't comprehend or have consciousness around all the things that you don't yet know about your business. And that's it's probably hard. It's probably hard to kind of understand that fully, but you just don't know what you don't know. And there's so much more opportunity than you're seeing because you see it for what you've currently accomplished or what you've currently seen or done, but you haven't maybe seen it at a real high level in a multitude of other industries, other areas, other businesses, and have those experiences. So, you have to really open your mind and listen for what you're missing. And like you were saying, Mike, just talking this morning about, one of the books you were listening to, Ego is the Enemy. Is that right? Was that the
Yep.
one?
Yep.
We don't, you gotta, I mean, it's something you gotta work on every day, right? Like you gotta be conscious that you don't know what you don't know. Don't listen to validate validate what your thinking is, you know what I'm saying? And your ideas. Listen for what you're missing and ask those questions. What am I missing? And I told a guy, you'll appreciate this, Mike. I told a guy, I spoke at Dan McCabe's mastermind. He had it here during the NFL draft. And it was, he has a bunch of investors and some significant guys in that group. I mean, there's some players that are doing commercial investing and stuff like that. And afterwards we were at the bar and they all wanted to buy drinks and whatnot. And I was just chatting with this younger guy, and he has his own independent brokerage, and I told him the most significant thing that I ever learned was to ask the question, what could I have done differently? And I gave him a couple examples of, in my life where I would have never saw what I could have done differently and changed the outcome. And I would have assumed this was someone else's fault, or it was just something that was unavoidable. And I stopped in the moment and I asked, what could I have done differently? And, that that was a powerful moment for me in my life, learning that lesson. And I try to ask that question in every situation where something doesn't go as planned. And he sent me an email, and he had a closing that fell apart. I guess the next Monday or whatever. And he sends me this long email, and it changed. He said it changed his entire paradigm, just the way he was looking at things. Of course, the title company dropped the ball, this, that, and the other. But he asked what he could have done differently, and he realized that he probably could have been more proactive in following up and making sure that things were on pace. And it was just a good get for him, right? So like those are the moments that we live for. Is be open-minded and really listen. I think you'll get a lot out of today's podcast. Is a topic I think that really has a lot of meat on the bone, if you will.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. One of my best core stories on optimization, to give people perspective, and I'll keep it short, was, when I was young, I mowed grass, and I wanted to go. I went to my banker to get a loan to buy more equipment because I wanted to double my business. And the short version of the story is I subscribed online to a magazine called Lawn and Landscape. And, we were mowing anywhere, as many up to 50 yards in any given day. And that's if it didn't rain the day before. And we needed more equipment. And my banker told me that, we had about $100,000 worth of equipment we had bought that year. And he just didn't feel comfortable, or he was giving me wise counsel. But he told me I was going to need to, finish that year out, and that I should come back in the winter and talk to him. Long story short, on this Lawn and Landscape, there was a article about UPS on how they routed their lawns. And the article basically led me to learn that although I thought I needed another $100,000 of equipment, all I needed was a piece of software that would let me route all my yards on right-hand turns, because what happened was, in the lawn business, minutes determine profitability and breaking even at that scale. So the way that you measure and bid, and how many guys, whether you have 3 guys in a truck or 4 guys in a truck, all that stuff has been done by other people, believe it or not, that are way, way, way smarter than I was. And, we were able to double our business with a different strategy. We were driving all the way to Highland Village, Jay, to do like 6 lawns. We let those go and got 6 in the same neighborhood.
Right.
That was just a little bit of different strategy. So, all the revenue wasn't the same. All the profitability of each yard was a little bit different. And, the thing that really, the reason I'm not in the lawn business today, and I'll just share with you, my number one competitor I see on Facebook all the time, and he literally owns a house on a peninsula on what I would consider my dream lot. And he didn't get out of the business, but I remember someone sharing a story with me that when I went to 12-month contracts and planting winter rice so I could mow all year. And he went to automatic EFT funds transfers. And I was literally, every account I was getting was saying, no, we used to mow with this guy, but he only takes automatic draft now, so we're switching. And that one little strategy, man, you don't know how much time, energy, and effort that I was spending just in collecting. So
Right.
not only did profit determine, break even, or I'm saying that the in the business, the minutes, minutes meaning if we stopped at a stoplight, if we could go right on a right hand turn, that depended on how we routed our job. So we became more deliberate in our strategy of getting customers and being more dense and making sure that when we had three guys in a truck, that the probability of them sitting at a stoplight was very, very small. And so I share that story with optimization because, Jay, I remember when you were sharing with me, and everybody, you may or may not know, Jay's been working on a book that I'm so excited to read. And I'm sharing that just because I know he's put a lot of energy into it. And in the book, one of the things that when you laid it out and I was going through it and you were sharing it with me was one of the pillars was optimization.
Right.
And I think that me and you both share, amazing experiences as it relates to that. So, with that being said, and not just trying to throw this back at you, Jay, but one of the things that I would love to discuss is, when you're new to the business, and this is just open and real as it can be. This is something that's going on currently in my consultation with agents. How does an agent optimize when they're new and they got no business?
Right. That's a great question. I think there's and I'll answer that question. But you got my brain going like 100 miles an hour on optimization right now. So and what I was thinking, and the reason
and think
I
about
didn't,
Braden.
right.
Think about Braden. I mean, just
Right.
think about.
I can tell you. I'll tell you a story immediately. I'll tell you exactly the challenge, and it's partly because it's my son and he's 20 and he doesn't listen to anything that I have to say. But there's so many areas of optimization. So I tried to explain to him. Listen, he's like, I've been buying these leads for 30 days and I don't have one person approved yet. I'm like, and I said, okay. I said, well, how many people have you spoke to? Out of how many leads have you gotten? How many did you speak to? There's a lever point right there. How many of them did you call back in the first 5 minutes? How many times did you call them? Like, he hasn't even broken down whether or not he spoke to the highest percentage of leads that's possible. And for him, he doesn't have any experiences to understand that he may be doing really good in terms of how many he's called, or he may not be doing any good. And so when he was calling, and setting up coaching calls for us, he had this paradigm as if he called you and you didn't call him right back, or you didn't answer the phone. If you filled out a form online and you didn't answer the phone when he called, that you just weren't interested and that you were a bad lead. That was his paradigm because he had never done it before. So I had to coach him through, listen, you're going to have to call him 10 times and you're going to have to call them all back immediately. And you might have to call them from 2 different phones. You might have to text them. You might have to send a package via the stork and drop, or a drone from Amazon. Like, you're going to have to come at it from every possible angle to increase your odds of success and getting a hold of that one person. That's just one leverage point, right? And so, when you're new, the biggest threat is you just don't know what you don't know. You don't have any idea what benchmarks much, and to a large degree, you haven't even really unpacked all of the impact and lever points that there are in a process. And there's so many different ways and angles that we could go with this optimization. But there's so many areas that you're not optimizing right now. So the whole point of optimization is, before you go create any new ideas or breakthroughs in your business and spending money to acquire customers, first maximize what you're already doing. Like, that's the number one thing is, if you're getting any results whatsoever, do everything you can to improve on those results before you start going and trying something new. And that's something I think every real estate agent and really every business person has a challenge with, because we see another shiny object. We want to try to go do this and do that too. And we don't pay attention to, and we're not managing the critical metrics we may not even be aware of all of the ways that you could improve a process, improve, a headline in an ad, or a message being left. I was telling Braden yesterday, I was literally walking down onto the dock with Riggs, because he since from the time he wakes up and this time of the year all the way through the end of the summer, because the fish are biting in the pond, he wants to go fishing every day, and there ain't no getting around it. So I mean, it's so funny because you want to talk about leverage points. Riggs knows how to negotiate. Riggs comes in here yesterday morning at like 7:00, and he's like, "Dad, we going fishing today?" And I said, well, he goes, "You got some calls today?" I said, "Yeah, I've got some calls today." And he said, "Okay, well, maybe you could do your calls outside and we could go fishing." That was his first angle. And then his next one was like, well, I said, "Well, buddy," I said, "I got a webinar I've got to watch." He's like, "Well, what? Maybe you can watch the webinar outside." I said, "Okay." I said, "Well, I don't have the internet down by the pond, so I'm going to have to, I'm going to have to watch that one in here." And he's like, "But your other calls aren't a webinar." I said, "Okay." I said, "Well," and one of them was in the calendar was, to record record something. So I had to be inside or whatever. So anyways, he was gnawing at me to get out there. So I'm walking out there, and Braden called, he calls me, and, there was, at the same conversation, as it comes down to the leads and everything else. And he's literally, leaving messages for people. And I told him, I said, "Listen, at the end of that message, make sure you leave the reason to call you back right now." And he said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Listen," I said, "if people aren't," I said, "Listen, you're going to leave a certain number of messages." I said, "You need to send an email with that message that says, 'Hey, sent you a voicemail.' And also in your voicemail say, 'Hey, I sent you an email,' but give them the reason to do it right now." I said, "If you're going to make 10 phone calls or you're going to send 10 emails, you might as well get the leverage point of giving someone a reason to do it right now." Right. So what's the reason that matters to them that they would want to call you back right now? "Hey, listen, I got a new listing that just hit the market. It's probably, it looks like it might be something you'd be interested in. I shot you an email. Make sure you take a look at it right now." And Braden was in such a hurry to get whatever answer he was looking for. I can't remember what answer he called me for. He called me for something that was related, but he was trying to get me to do something, I think, for him. And anyways, at the end of the day, like, he's like, why? He's like, he was in such a rush. He wasn't trying to listen to the lever point that I was giving him. And I know he didn't get it. He didn't catch it. And if you asked him, he would probably say he did. But, those are the things that move, that move the needle. You know what I'm saying? Those are the things that change the outcome. If you focus on what are all those angles and lever points that you have in your business, and are you maximizing everything? I think that's why people, that coach with us get such great results. Is it doesn't cost you more money to grow your business when you understand that we're going to stop and optimize everything, and we're going to analyze it all first before we start engineering a whole bunch of breakthroughs, that just make your life even that much more chaotic.
That's a great point. One of the one of the things that you made me think of, in sharing that story was, I've been called in to help a lot of agents here recently, and going through their business. And a good friend of ours, Tim, was wanting to generate more leads. And this guy has 4,000 past clients, Jay. And he's never sent them an email. He's never sent them a text message. And as it relates to optimization, if you really let that sink in, a leverage point in your business is you have one-on-one communication, mass personalized communication, mass communication. Your database and communication with it is huge. So this guy is going to a cold list of people to run an ad to spend on average of $9 to find somebody that doesn't even know who he is, to want to know what their home is worth, so that he can then sift and sort and find out of those people which ones are planning to sell a home. He has 4,000 clients in the Colony, Texas, that have bought their homes from him, that he's never communicated with, some for 10 years, that if he just sent them a voice blast, a text message, an email, and said, "Hey guys, I know it's that time of the year. Home values have been on the rise. A lot of our clients' tax assessed values have been increased. If you're looking to save money, looking to sell, or simply refinance, here's a new site, and this is a service I'm providing for you guys, where you can find out what your home is worth." It's a simple, quick, over the net evaluation. But if you're serious about getting a more accurate evaluation, please insert short code for Facebook Messenger. Message me, and let me know. I'd love to help you come up with, help you with whatever your goals are. My point is that from an optimization standpoint, and this is where I struggle, and this is really a conversation because I was compelled to write an email, and you tell me where this fits in. I was compelled to write an email about door hangers, and I thought about you, but I don't know how to make. That's not true. The best advice that I know how to give is advice that I would do myself based upon my experience. And so I was talking to a guy and he was calling data. So think about the time, energy, and effort in data. And I want you to think about this, Jay. I want you to think about this individual and tell me if I was wrong in my thinking here. This individual was spending $600 a month on a platform, and it's May, and he was spending $200 a month on ad spend. And I thought, if it were me knowing optimization, I would, and I already had the $1,000. I'd rather spend $1,000 in May and zero in June and July, knowing the seasonality curve and knowing my platform cost and my cash conversion cycle, than to spend $200 a month. When we would build out partner pipelines, we came in with a $1,200 ad spend out of the gate on a $400 platform fee. And what I realized is that so many people, because they don't understand customer acquisition costs, they don't understand the numbers, they don't have a real budget that's in alignment with the cost that it takes to acquire a customer. And so they don't optimize the opportunity because they're happily paying for this software or these tools that don't get customers. But I think what you have to do is, as a new agent, you have to optimize your time. How much of your time in Ultimate Sales Machine should you be spending on generating a customer? Because if you're investing your time on activities that are low value and low revenue generating, then you really, all you have is your time to invest. If it were me, and these are two separate stories, one with Tim and one with Kurt, is on one hand, I'm telling Kurt, hey, listen, man, we need to get a better strategy with our ad spend. I can run ads on Facebook, but again, I'd much rather be like a Russell Rhodes and do 2,500 door hangers that are over the net home evaluation, non-branded door hangers, and do that consistently than randomly just getting home evaluations anywhere in Frisco. Because the compound effect of that same dollar, energy, and effort, if I do get 3 listings from that ad spend, if I got 3 in the same neighborhood, for me, Michael Reese, just in what I did in Stewart's Peninsula, which I would call it a tip of spear, it compounded. It built my confidence. I was able to talk about the neighborhood. When I got prepared for one listing, I was more of an expert because I knew about all the homes that have sold. When I got another one, or when one of those were under contract, it had an impact on my confidence going into the listing, saying I've already had sold one in the neighborhood before. In fact, I got 3 offers and 6 buyers that looked. I mean, it was just another conversation point. So optimizing how you invest your time, but optimizing your overall lead generation strategy, and more importantly, where you invest your time, meaning, are you investing your time in a way that are you leveraging your time in a way that's actually in alignment with getting a customer? Are you just, and Ego is the Enemy, chapter 2 or 3, it talks about, there's a whole story about how people who are wanting to write a book, they wrote a book about people who want to write a book, and the entire book is about pictures of them posting about their project, but they don't sit down and do the shit they need to do to get the book written. You know what I mean?
Right. No doubt. No. So yeah, I think, in every situation there's you mentioned in the introduction to this, throughput, which I think throughput is it's the ultimate understanding of optimization. It's, you can optimize the number of leads that you're getting and increase your ad spend and get more leads to call. If you're not getting enough leads, that's always an area that you can increase. But it does no good if you don't also increase the number of people that you spoke to, and the number of people that you speak to. You can increase that, but if you're saying the wrong thing on the phone, then you can improve what you're saying on the phone, and you can get a 1, 2, 3, 4x return on that time that is invested on the phone. Could you be saying something better? For those people that don't answer and that you send an email or a text message, you could be saying something that could have a 1, 2, 3, 4x difference in the number of people that call you back. And getting face to face, you could be doing something or saying something different that results in getting that listing or getting that buyer to sign a buyer brokerage agreement. And all the way through to the actual commission. If you don't have that's throughput. Throughput is all the way through to the profitability, the entire value chain, the entire process. What are all those leverage points? And if you solve for one, you immediately create a new bottleneck probably somewhere later on in the funnel. So with Kirk, and I think I understand kind of both the two scenarios. The real question is, can he commit to getting the things off his plate so that he's spending the time following up and working on, all the ways to leverage the, making contact and converting those to, a conversation that determines timeline and motivation, and has a good system in place to follow up with the ones that aren't doing it right now, and has a good system to get face to face with the ones that are, and has a great presentation that differentiates him from every other agent in the marketplace when he does get face to face. Like if he can commit to those things, then yeah, increase your lead gen. You know what I'm saying? Like, spend more, now, or what are all the ways to accomplish the same thing, like the door hangers or whatever. But, I would definitely say that, when you're looking at the biggest lever in that whole thing, when you talked about Stewart Peninsula, I just want to unpack it a little bit because I know the story, because I had the same example that happened to me in my marketplace. Is when you get a listing in a neighborhood and then you get another listing in the neighborhood and people start to see your signs and you sell this one and then you sell the one across the street, or when you start taking buyer calls and you can say, hey, yeah, I just listed another one over here. As a matter of fact, I'm talking to somebody that might be listing one down the road as well. Those you start to become not just more knowledgeable about that one area or that one subdivision. You become seen in that neighborhood, right? Like, they see your signs. That leads to people being more responsive when you call and leave a voicemail. They're like, yeah, I think that's the guy that sold the house across the street. Or you start getting inbound calls of people saying, hey, you sold the house, so down the street. We were thinking of selling, and we decided we were going to call you. Those are the leverage points that, when you're just spraying and praying and you're doing, all this lead gen and you're spending money on buyer leads and Zillow and this and that and the other, and you're not getting any real, branded positioning, as the go-to person in a marketplace, which is really what the book that I'm writing is all about, is driving, building a business that is where people are chasing you instead of you chasing them, that's the goal, right? Like that's the leverage point that nobody can take that away from you. When you are the person they think of first, that's the greatest amount of leverage that you can have in a marketplace. So yeah, no, I think I unpacked what you were saying, and I certainly agree with it, what your advice was, if that makes sense.
So let's do a little rundown. Okay, we're gonna play a little game here. I'm gonna say a leverage point. You say a leverage point. I say a leverage point. You say a leverage point. Okay. Just a place that could be optimized for the listener, because you made me think of so much, and I know I'm gonna get you started. So here's one. You ready?
Yep.
Property brochure and sign marketing. Is that a leverage point?
Yep. It's a leverage point. Yep.
All right, your turn. I don't know my next one, so I'm thinking.
Okay. Website.
Oh, he went website. Okay. Here's another one. Google versus Facebook. Ad spend.
Okay. How about PR?
Okay.
Public relations.
All right. How about this? Running targeted ads on the leads you already generated with a custom audience versus trying to generate new leads.
Oh, that was a good one. How about endorsements and testimonials?
Oh, trying to dunk on the game. That is a great one. How about training for agents on your team? Ooh.
Oh, yeah, that's a multiplier right there. What if you could just train your agents to do one more deal each per month? All right. What about brand repositioning your brand?
That's a good one.
That's one of my favorite
That's a
ones.
really
Because most people don't have a positioning at all, and then when you can position to reposition your brand to matter to the consumer, something of value that differentiates you, is a huge leverage point.
How about people letting go of B and C players?
Oh man, yeah, optimization of leverage. People are great leverage points, and that I would say leadership, leading people, is probably another good one. Your ability to lead others and get the most out of every labor dollar is another good leverage point.
All right. How about and I know I said this earlier, but how about your vendors and relationships?
Ooh, yep. Vendors and relationships a good one. All right. How about your selling systems? So your entire selling system and selling process.
That's a great one. Speed of response.
That's a good one. That's a good one. That's an easy one. Most people are not doing well.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm gonna talk whatever one you say. I'm gonna try to explain. Then you try to explain mine.
Okay.
We'll do a couple more.
All right.
Don't throw me for a
Yeah.
don't
I was
throw
trying
me
to
for
think
a
of a
loop.
good one. I'm running out of angles.
Here,
Yeah, distribution
I'll
channels.
give you one.
Distribution channels. We'll go with that one.
Okay, so an example of that would be, let's say you do a just listed postcard. Um, I'm just giving an example. In a neighborhood, you could turn it into an e-card and send it to your entire database. You could, or let's say you get it. Here's a distribution channel. Let's say that Facebook. Let's say you put all of your unconverted buyers into a Facebook group and let them know about coming soon properties and other homes that you list so that you could double in them. That's an example.
Right.
Facebook being a distribution point.
Right.
And so are you leveraging those things? You know, one of the things that I like to when I look at my personal life, I look at my time. So let's see here. And you crushed it with testimonials because I think, you know, just to give some testimonials, like for instance, I just want, I'm not trying to dodge another one, but I just want to unpack that's been playing in my
That's a
mind.
good one.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, imagine you sell a home in a neighborhood for 11% more than all the other homes in the neighborhood. Not documenting that and being able to share that is a missed opportunity for articulating your value. Value not articulated is value not appreciated. So I think with testimonials, it's not only, hey, Mike's good, but it's also the demonstration of what you did for them is a good leverage point. With that being said, let me come up with one. Your buyer leads, and so emailing your buyer leads that are local to try to find out who the local area movers are, so you could come at them with a different angle to convert them.
Right.
Said differently, emailing your buyer leads, find out what your home's worth. If they're a local area mover and they have a home to sell,
Right. Oh yeah.
they might not be responsive to your home search or your follow-up call, but they might be more receptive to a different angle. And the stats out there, guys, is that if you have 7 angles, 7 different ways to try to call to action your prospects to raise their hand to do business with you, you increase your conversion by 700% by having 14 angles. So simply doubling from 7 angles to 14 angles increases your conversion by 700%. That's a stat that was given by, I believe, the Content Institute.
Right. So and I could really go deep on that, but you got me thinking about another one. So, yeah. So okay, let's try to come up with what are all the angles that you could use in a blog post or in a message to a buyer that are different angles that might get a response. Yeah. I like it. I like the concept of thinking through it in a blog post, right? So, yeah. So what would be some of the angles that, list of foreclosure properties, for instance, would be maybe an angle.
So I think the way that I think about it is, what's their big ass problem? So typically, what are all the problems that a buyer and seller, getting financing, home inspection, any of those types of things that a buyer might, picking the right agent, how to pick the right agent, how to not overpay for a property. Those are down payment.
Right.
Those are all angles as it relates to, finding out what your home is worth is one thing, but, the thing that people might think of,
should I sell first or before I buy?
Yeah. Or, bridge loan, right. New construction,
Okay, so if
you're making me go now.
Right. So like you just hit me like with man, I never had an opportunity to take and this is one of the advantages of like, not that everybody out here should go get HubSpot. That's definitely not what I'm suggesting, but one of the advantages to putting out content, right? And the blog posts and some of the things that we've done, and we're reaping the rewards of really the organic traffic. But as you think about what are all the angles that you might be able to get a buyer interested or get a buyer to respond, you become the expert purveyor of content and expertise in helping someone make a good decision by putting this kind of content out there. And there's so many angles that you could come at a buyer than just let me just try to call them and chase them down, and hopefully they'll buy a house from me, right?
Yeah. By the very nature of publishing content, you get authority, and there's something to be said, and you control the narrative. And another angle you got me on is publishing content about what's going on in the market. So an angle would be find out what's going on in the current market, whether that's at a neighborhood level, a city level, state level, or national level.
Right. No doubt. So here's one angle, and we can probably wrap this up here in a minute, but this is an angle that you said it a minute ago. One of the leverage points that you like, that you try to always leverage is your time. And I was thinking about this yesterday, just because it's probably the number one thing that that I try to do is, I know it is. I know it's the number one thing you try to do is get the most value out of every minute in your day. And we're all given 168 hours in a week, and you're going to spend 56 of those hours sleeping, and 12 of them are for maintenance, and you're left with about 100 hours to invest. And most invest half of the time doing things personally, and the others the other half is working. So, and I think most of the people listening to this podcast probably spend more than 50 hours a week in the hustle zone. But where where can you invest that time better? How much time in the day is spent being reactive versus being proactive with your time? Like, my calendar's full every day. I mean, it's full. I mean, my wife even uses my calendar I got watch the kids in my calendar today, because, she knows that if I'm on calls, I'm probably not watching the kids. So, I don't know if she's getting her nails or hair done or whatever, but like, that's how, I communicate through my time. If you're going to get a slot of my time, it's going to be very highly leveraged, or you're not going to get it. And, watching my kids is something, part of the day that I enjoy is spending time with them. So that's not, not the most productive from my business side of things, but it is a part of my overall, when I look at, the 5 equities of life and where I'm spending my time, am I investing time with my kids? Am I, across all those areas, how balanced am I? those things are also a part of my day. Fishing was in my calendar later in the day yesterday. Reese was persistent. We knew it was going to happen. So, anyways, yeah. So I think your time. If there's one thing, like and I'll give you another one. So, how about how you think about or thinking, just thinking as a leverage point? Give me an example of how you would use thinking as a leverage point in your business.
Okay. I'd be thinking, is my current relationship with my broker going to get me to the next level? But does my business model, I would be thinking about my current business model. Is there a better way? When I had a team, dude, nobody had teams. You were one of the very few people in the country. This is 3 years before Gary Keller wrote the Red Book, right? And
Right.
I know agents right now that are getting an unfair advantage because they're able to expand their business into other countries and states, and they're able to do it and keep one cap. So like if you're at a Keller Williams and you do expansion, or you plan on, let's say you have a team and you plan on expanding in the future, right? One leverage point is if you go to Denver, Colorado, it's like a $30,000 cap to go sell real estate in Denver. So if I'm a practicing agent in Texas and I want to open a team in Denver, Keller Williams charges different fees than just admittedly EXP. And
Right.
even more importantly, and I'm not trying to, I'm just sharing the truth here. And I hope this doesn't offend anybody, because if you're offended by truth, that, you have,
You got bigger problems.
you got bigger problems than me. But, when I got into real estate, one of the number one team at Lake Texoma, I don't know what they do, but probably 20 million is relatives of mine that I helped get into real estate. Top team in Oklahoma City, relatives of mine that I helped get into real estate. They helped other relatives of mine get in real estate in Arizona. I believe it's in Flagstaff. My next door neighbor, the guy who lived behind me growing up, Jeff Boone, is a real estate agent that I helped get in real estate in Tulsa, Oklahoma. My first bookkeeper, Kim Parker, is a real estate agent. Now, those 5 people, when they got into real estate, do you think they probably went to the same brokerage I went to? I'm going to just tell you, everybody, the answer is yes. Now, the difference is in my current economic model and team is you listen to the very first episode of this. You can go back and listen. I said that I thought agents were going to do $10 million in production. I thought you should partner with agents across the country. And I believe that once you get to your pinnacle, you get to the point where, just like when I mowed grass, I didn't mow the grass anymore. One day I ran the weed eater and blower. One day I didn't anymore. And that's how your real estate business is. One day you're going to go on the listing appointments, you're going to work with buyers, and one day you're not anymore. And, what I learned is that there were companies out there that had compensation that were in alignment with a strategy that gave me a competitive advantage. And so one of those, when I got into real estate, was Keller Williams. To this day, I love their business model. They would allow me to recruit people to Keller Williams and share. And the thing I loved about Keller Williams is I could recruit people there, and those people could recruit people, and those people could recruit people, and there would be people, Jay, that I would get paid on their production because I was a Keller Williams agent, and that I shared the opportunity of why I liked Keller Williams at the time over all other solutions. And I naturally did that because there was a clear value proposition of why I thought they should go there versus Century 21 and Remax. And they had a model that they would share in the profit. And one of the things that I love about EXP that I did not realize is that they share in the revenue, which is top line. And so, with that being said, that has been an amazing business model and opportunity for me in growing my business, because no different than when I was with other people that had similar business models. I'm naturally going to come into contact with a lot of real estate agents. That's just kind of what we do, i.e. I'm on this podcast talking about it right now. And when people reach out to me, I inherently like to share what I think they should do to grow their business. I'm not going to share with them if somebody calls me and says, "Hey, Mike, what would you do if you were me?" I'm going to share the truth. And so one of the things I think people should think about is why are so many of the top agents in the country moving over to EXP? And in that one moment, I can tell you that everybody that I've ever talked to, at EXP, and this is a blatant plug, and it's because if you were in the desert, I'd be talking about why you need to take water with you. Is that the truth is that when I talk to people and I'd say, knowing what you know now about EXP, if you could give yourself advice or whisper in your ear, what would you tell yourself? And every one of the people I was interviewing, doing this kind of testimonial video reel when we were in Vegas, everyone said, "Man, I would have looked into it a little bit more when I first heard about it." And so that's what I would do is I would think you were wrong, think about where you currently are, and think that there might be a better way, or and be a little bit more open-minded. No different than you were, Jay. I know you were on a webinar yesterday looking at the WeWork business, model for commercial real estate, and you were taking time. Yeah, you were taking time out of your day to learn, and so take time to go out there and at least learn and understand what other things are out there in the marketplace that might be able to serve you better. So that's my my selfish plug on why EXP and for instance,
and it was
I'm not. I got to close with this because I wouldn't. And the reason why you should do it now, I'm taking your advice to Braden, is I would be more than happy to share with you in a one-on-one. I'll give you my time. I'll be more than willing to invest my time. My email is michael@naea.com. I've been willing to do that for the last decade. Jay's is jay@jkinder.com. If you ever just want to have a discussion about growing your business and you're serious, we will have our only goal is to add as much value as we can to one person, to do that to as many people as possible. And in the future, our time won't be, we might not, I'm just saying there's a pool for our time. Right now, we're in a position where we are willing and able to invest in a one-on-one environment, time with anybody that's really serious about growing their business, and share with you, all of the different ways. So, just shoot us an email and we'll shoot you back a link to get in our calendar, and we would be delighted to talk to you about your business. And I believe that no matter where you are in your business, you're one decision away from doubling your business or doubling your profit.
Right. No question. And in every situation, I think, and at the end of the day, we don't, it isn't going to change our life one way or another, whether you decide to join us at EXP or not, but I think we could change yours. That I do firmly believe that. And if you haven't watched, if you haven't invested the time, invest the time. Michael's mentioned, and that's also another angle, to go back to the WeWork, webinar that I listened to yesterday, that I invested an hour of my time with, on the unpacking of that business model, because there's an opportunity there. That was also content, right? So when you think about it from that perspective, that's content that company's putting out there. It was done by CB Insights. And they sell a very expensive, data package that break down business models and help you get clear on, how to implement a better a business model. Just looking at market research and stuff like that. So, at any rate, you can go to 7-Figure Agent. You spell it out, 7figureagent.com, and you can watch basically, I think we invested an hour breaking down the business model and what we see and why we see it as such a great opportunity. So that's another angle. If you want to go watch the webinar, do that, or just shoot us an email. We'll be glad to get on the call and unpack where you're at, where you're trying to go, and if there's a way that we could work together and help you get there. So at any rate, that's all I've got, man. Mike, I'm looking forward to today. I know you got a big day ahead of you, and I'm looking forward to hearing how that goes. Close us out here is what we say here at NAEA Kinder Reese and the Face to Face podcast. Is we'll see you at the top or from the top.
From the top. Yep.
There you go. There he is.
Yeah,
or at the lake.
Yeah. And don't just work in your business. Remember to take time to work on your business.
That's right. All right, man. Y'all have a great day.